I'm excited about today. I'm excited about today because I think there's some opportunities for us to be able to continue to level up our skills. A lot of us are in markets where signing a buyer broker agreement has not been the norm. We've gone more on the trust factor that we're going to show in good faith that we're good and we're competent, and we hope that the buyers will stay with us. With a lot of anxiety that people had that those buyers might be, buyers are liars, or buyers are going to tell something and then go with someone else. And we've all had the experiences, I'm sure, that we diligently been working with a buyer and then they ended up buying a house with somebody else. So we've had all those concerns and frustrations, I'm sure. And so I think it's really exciting about the buyer broker agreement is that once you get a buyer broker agreement signed, it's similar to getting a listing signed, right? So independent of where they find the property or independent of what ends up happening, they're going to owe you a commission or a fee, whatever you charge. And that should give every single one of us the peace of mind to know that once we have that agreement signed, unless we don't meet our end of the bargain, right? Unless we overpromise and underdeliver, we're going to have a good experience in working with them. And the coolest part of all of this, I hope you guys can truly get this. Good morning, Kelly, or afternoon. Good to see you. Is that we get to call the shots on what we charge. Isn't that great? Because in the past, the commission that you earned as an agent, if you were a buyer's agent, was completely predicated upon what the seller or the listing agent decided to offer as compensation, or the sharing of the commissions. And what was frustrating about that is that you show multiple properties, and the property that your clients seemed to love the best seemed to offer the least trading for buyer or for agents. At least it was for me. And so this is going to change all of that, right? This is going to allow us to be able to know exactly what we're going to get paid. We're going to have a firm commitment from a buyer that they're going to be working with us exclusively for whatever period of time. And then lastly, it's going to give us peace of mind that we know exactly what we're going to earn, because that commission or compensation, even though it's predicated upon the value of the home that they purchase, will be our desire, or we call that shot, right? Whatever we decide to negotiate with that buyer in advance, well before any offers are made or any homes are shown. Any concerns or anything you guys want to add to that before we get into how we win that agreement? All right, well, let's dive into it. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. I, asked my buddy ChatGPT to come up with some of the objections that buyers may have in working with a buyer or with a buyer's agent. And I thought this is some pretty good information that it shared, and then we're going to dive deep into that. All right, guys. So here's some of the things that it talked about. It said commitment concerns, people having a fear of being locked into a contract, right? Buyers may worry about signing a contract because they're not sure if the agents that they want to work with, right? Uncertainty about that agent, right? Like they don't know if we're competent enough to be able to help them buy a home. Financial concerns, worry about the cost associated with it, worry about the fees, and then not having a really clear understanding of who pays what when, because there's a lot of misconception out there. There's a lot of videos going around, a lot of YouTube videos going around, a lot of fear mongering that's happening around this. And so being able to articulate that and helping them understand what the financial, issues are, what their fees are, their expenses are in buying a property is going to be very, very critical. Trust issues, right? They might not trust agents as a whole, and you personally, right? They don't know you yet. If they met you from an online lead that they filled out, like they didn't pick you, you happen to call them because of some form that they filled out. So they don't have a lot of trust with us just yet. And concerns about your motivation. Like, do you have commission breath? Can they feel that sense? You haven't sold a house in a month or two, you've got some bills to pay, and you're super stressed. Can they feel that energy from you? And then desire for autonomy. They want to be able to just do things on their own. They don't like signing anything. They don't want to be locked into anything. They just don't want to deal with that. They feel like they can do things on their own. They can find properties on their own. So there's no issues there. Lack of understanding, just unfamiliarity with the contract itself, the legal jargon they might not understand, and it might be complicated for them to be able to sign. Just because, again, if you read those documents, they're made by attorneys, and therefore they have some words in there that might be a little bit difficult to understand. And lastly, they may have had a bad experience, right, with an agent. They may have had a bad experience in selling a home or buying a home, and they don't want to be locked into somebody where they just don't feel comfortable because they don't know us yet. And we're asking them to sign this fairly quickly in the courting process, if you will. So that's a concern. So how do we get over that? Who, as an agent, you perceive that this is going to happen? Obviously, it's on here already, or you've had this experience before where they have. Oh, there we go. They've asked this. They've told this to you. All right. I'll find someone that's going to do it for less when it comes about fees. And then if that happens, then I would like you to say this. Has there ever been a time in your life where you regretted the person or company you hired, but you went with them initially because they were cheaper? Now, this might be a little bit Phil Jonesy for those that know him and his scripts, but has there ever been a time? And I'm going to ask you guys that question. Do you guys feel like, has there ever been a time in your life where you have hired somebody that was cheaper? It was a cheaper route. It was a more economical route, and you guys ended up regretting it. Anybody? Yeah. Okay. And so what I had told my team, and this is going to sound reiterating, but I'm going to show you some actual pictures. I want you guys to be able to have in your toolbox, like those of you guys have know Eileen Rivera. When she goes to a listing presentation, or when she did, she probably doesn't practice real estate anymore. But when she would go to listing presentation, she didn't just bring some fancy folder, but she would bring this box. And this box had so many things in it. It was like her Mary Poppins box, or bag, if you will, or Hermione, if you know that term, where she would dig into this box and she would have at any point in time be able to pull out all these amazing things to be able to help illustrate the point of why she was the person that they needed to hire to be able to help them sell their home. And so what I've done is I've put together some things that would help us understand, and these pictures should absolutely be printed, laminated, and should be in our box or a binder when we show them property, or when we're trying to articulate this value to them. Okay. Now, for those ladies that have gotten hair done before, color done, imagine if you were getting some blonde highlights, and this is what the result was, because they were a cheaper, affordable, available now person compared to the person that is months out in advance and charges an arm and a leg, but this is the type of result you get. Right? Now, if you were to show this to somebody, especially like if you knew that they like color their hair or whatever, and you show these two examples to them, and you actually had the copies on good cardstock, and you show these two, and you shared to them, you said, hey, this is the cheaper route, and this is the better route. Which one would you have gone with? Or which one, do you see the difference? Or if you wanted to get a Batman tattoo, compared to maybe what a professional could do. You wanted to get I didn't even actually realize that this is someone flipping somebody off, but a tattoo with a unicorn versus an actual unicorn tattoo. Again, you might not like the style, but you guys get the point I'm making. Or have you guys ever done any construction and hired, a contractor or a sub to do some flooring compared to a professional? This on the bottom here, getting a horse attached to the banister, and on the right here, getting a brick wall. Now that's probably something that you'd see in a developing country, not so much in the United States, but you guys get the picture, right? And this is the best one. I used to have this literally as an example all the time, right? Like hiring a professional is absolutely critical. And having this to be able to show our potential buyers, I think, is an easy way to illustrate the value in one agent versus another, right? We'll get that in a minute. So I'm going to stop this sharing for a second so we can kind of dive in deeper into that. When I show you guys these examples, what thoughts come to mind? You guys can unmute yourself, or I want some feedback.
You get what you pay for.
Is that always true?
Not always, but in those pictures, it looked like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes, or most of the time, you're right. You get what you pay for. Have you guys ever had an experience where you've overpaid for something and you're like, that was not worth that? It happens.
Yes.
Do you guys believe that that the consumers have that notion that we are overpaid? Absolutely. Right. So saying that example, you get what you pay for, they might already say, well, you guys all charge too much to begin with. Might be a little bit hard to like swallow that, right? But You're right, Lindsay, it absolutely is. In most cases, if you go to Denny's and get a steak dinner, or you go to Mastro's or Fleming's, or a nicer restaurant like Morton's or whatever, Ruth's Chris, you're going to get a better steak. And being able to articulate those two things to a customer is super critical, because it allows us to be able to say, hey, here's an easy difference between the two so you guys can see. And a lot of times it doesn't have to do anything to do with real estate, right? It can just be, here's two examples of something that you may kind of, resonate with. And having this toolbox, that you, if you will, of having these different examples. If you're talking to a dude, showing him the hair, the color or different types of hairstyles, or different hairstylists, they're not going to connect with that, right? But there's plenty of other examples that you guys can come up with, and I just came up with a couple of them, tattoo being one of them, where everyone can really get an easy idea of the difference between the two. And so being able to share that with them, saying, hey, here's what the difference is going to be able to help you come up with a better idea of how to be able to deliver that value. You guys, what do you think separates us, and how do we become the professional tattoo artist, if you will, or the professional hairstylist, or whatever it is? What's the difference between the two, the novice and that person? What do you guys think?
Experience.
Okay, experience, right? It's a huge one. What else?
The multiple failures.
That's true, right? Like, the experience allows us to be able to make a lot of mistakes. And when we make mistakes, hopefully you learn from them and not repeat those mistakes. And that is invaluable to a buyer when we're working with them. Now, some of us may not have the experience, or we may not have enough experience. And we need to glean on the brokerage or the team that you're a part of. And if you're not a part of, a team, that you might want to, if you're beginning, so that you can get a better idea of, like, you can lean from their experience, right? When you're telling stories, you can tell their stories, so that you can help them articulate why it's better for you to work with them, because you're a part of a team, if you will, if you are. And if you're a solo agent, again, the brokerage that you're part of, or whatever it might be, some type of help that you can get to be able to make sure that their needs are protected. What else can we do? What else can we do to be able to show them that we are the more professional, experienced person as agents?
Market knowledge.
And Joan, why is that important?
Well, I think that in our area, different neighborhoods, the values are different, and knowing the difference, knowing where it's a good investment to buy a home, and relaying that to the buyer so that they recognize that you are the area expert.
Yeah. Have you guys ever been on vacation and you've gone somewhere you've never been before? Most of us should be in that, right? You've had that experience, and you just walk around and you're like, you can just aimlessly, not knowing where you are. You're depending on your phone, if you have reception, to be able to guide you to different places. And then have you ever been to a place where you also were not aware of, your first time there, but you went with somebody that knew, that had been there before multiple times, or went with a guide, or hired a tour person to be able to, show you around? Is there a difference between those two experiences? There is, right? Like, one's gonna be able to say, hey, this is the pitfall to go, don't go down the street, like, this is what happened here, and this is when it happened. They can give you all the information that you need and help you avoid wasting your time. And most certainly, when you're buying the most expensive asset and you go to an area where you don't know, and you take an agent with you that also doesn't know that area, then they may be able to pull up the MLS. They may be able to know exactly what home sold for, and they might even be able to pull comps, right? That's fair. But what they don't know is the nuances between one side of the street versus the other, or the builder that home was compared to the builder that's a block away from a different builder, and the nuances of, when the house was built, and if it's close to a sewer area or water treatment facilities or not. Like, all those things make a huge difference. And you, as an agent that knows the area, is gonna be able to help them a lot more than they would if they were just working with any agent. So, Joan, you're absolutely right. Our ability to be able to know the market that we work is critical. And the thing is, can we all agree? Not for me if you believe that it's important. Yeah. And then, so I want to ask you, be honest, how many of you guys have to continue to learn more about the communities in which you serve? How much energy and time do you spend? Lindsay, you said yes. Go and meet yourself. Tell me how you're doing that.
So there's I walk my dog in different neighborhoods in where I live every day. So the neighbors see me, they know me. A couple of them where I live close know that I'm a realtor just in talking because they want to talk about my dog. So the dog is the key in. How long have you lived here? Just like that's how I'm getting to know the people in my area. I really want to work in my area. So another thing that I do is usually I'm on inspection today, but usually Thursday mornings I work from the donut shop that's right in my neighborhood where everyone goes. On the back of my laptop, it says, ask me about real estate. I've gotten one listing appointment that way. Like just, I don't have the listing yet, but they know me now. You know, they know I'm in the neighborhood. They've seen me walk my dog. And that's how I'm getting involved. I want to try next door. I haven't started that yet, but that's just two things I'm doing.
Okay, I love it. What else can we do? What else can we do to be able to learn more about the communities that we serve?
I'll
How should
go. I'd say just spending time in those communities, going out to eat in those areas, walking the dog's good, doing different things and activities that you would do elsewhere, just do it in the markets that you're trying to be in, because then you can learn more about the subtle nuances of the streets and the bars and the restaurants and ice cream shops and that stuff at grocery stores. Like that stuff's really helpful. And that's kind of something that we do down here in the markets we're trying to get into. We spend a lot of time down there, whether it's off duty or on duty, cruising around.
Yep. You guys knowing the amenities of the community, knowing the shopping and the lifestyle that they're buying into, because they're not just buying a home, knowing the homes. If you guys live in areas where there's a lot of tract homes, where there's a lot of similar homes that one bigger builder built, should you know who the builder is? Should you know the floor plan? Right? Can you imagine if you're showing a property and you can say, this home was built by Lennar, this was the Serenity Collection Model 2. The Model 1 is a larger floor plan, that's 3,725 square feet. This plan is Plan 2 with 2,800 square feet, and they've got a single store or single level home that's 1,900 square feet. The 1,900 square foot home had the capacity to be able to have a 4-bedroom, but typically most of the time, these were built with 3-bedroom with an office. The one that we're going to show you today is the 2,700 square foot floor plan. It's a 2-story home. It's got 4 bedrooms upstairs and 1 downstairs. And the average lot of this neighborhood and this builder was 7,400 square feet. Like when you have that type of knowledge that's in your head and you can spew it out like fact, how much more value does that give a prospective buyer compared to someone says, and you can walk inside and tell me what you think. Do you guys get that? If you don't preview property, you're not going to know. If you don't look up title records or just know, if you guys work in an area here like in St. George where there's most of it in the higher end is all custom builders. If you don't know if you don't know the 5 or 7 or 8, 10 custom builders and what they specialize in and what they charge per square foot to build, the lot sizes, like if you don't know those details, it is critical that you get to know those things. And here's the cool thing. It doesn't take a lot of time, right? It doesn't take a lot of energy to be able to know that. You just have to learn it. You have to spend the time to learn it. If we don't, you guys, here in the next couple of weeks, when all this changes, it's going to be like you meeting a buyer for the first time. And maybe not in the beginning, but most certainly after a while, you'll start seeing these buyers. They're going to realize that they're going to have to pay your fee one way or the other. And they're going to start interviewing buyer's agents for the job of helping them buy a home. And if you guys have ever been on a listing appointment, it's going to be a similar experience where you're going to go, they're going to interview 2 or 3 agents, and you're going to have to show your value. And if you have no value, guess what you're going to offer them? Half or all of your commission. That's going to be your value. You're going to be that little, I won't say the word, but you know what I mean. Right? That's all you can do is just drop your pants. That's the value you have. And so if you don't want to do that, then you're going to have to show value. You're going to have to differentiate yourself from the rest of the competition that's out there. Right? And saying stupid things like, oh, I'm available 24/7. Or, oh, I can't even think of stupid things to say, but like, there's so many things that agents say that's like obvious. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, is that not a thing? Is that not what I should expect? Right? Like and then we use words that make us sound very immature, not immature, unsure of ourselves. Because the second thing we talk about is negotiating just in a second. We use words like maybe, kind of, I think, right? Those types of words. And when we're discussing communities, neighborhood, the home, you guys, it makes us feel or look that we can't be trusted. I had a little bit of time before my flight, so I went to a Mercedes dealership. I'm thinking about switching my wife's car out. And I went to I went to the receptionist and I said, I want information on a GLE. She has a GLS now. Kids are more grown, so she wants to get a smaller SUV. And I said, I want someone that is knowledgeable about GLEs and knows more than anybody else about GLEs. I said, if you give me a salesperson that doesn't know, I'm going to turn them down and I want someone else. And she goes, oh yeah, don't worry, I got you. So she gets this guy to come and talk to me. The way he presented himself, I automatically knew that he was going to be a complete doof. And so he takes me back to his little cubicle down, and then he brings up the computer to show me his inventory that he has. I said, tell me about the different packages that this GLE can come with. And he's like, I'm like, and so he prints out a couple different ones that he has inventory of, right? Because that's all that they can think of is they want to sell a car right now. And he shows me this sheet right here. And then I'm like, okay, cool. So tell me, how is this different than the other car? And he starts looking through it. I'm like, what are you doing? Please know your stuff. Right? If I know more about the car than you do, you don't have any value to give to me. Please don't waste my time. And then I said, I want to make sure that the next car, because the car she has doesn't have heated steering wheel. Everything else heats up or cools down. And she's like, why does a $100,000 car not have heated steering wheel when a $20,000 car has it? And I said, I want to make sure the next car she gets has it. And he didn't know that it had it. He read through all of this. English was his second language. And it was right here. Like, I had to point it out to him that I did have it. And so he goes, okay, well, hold on. I stood up. I was like, I gotta go. He's like, all right, hold on, just wait to meet with my manager for a minute. I said, okay. He went. He made me wait standing up for 5 minutes. Now, I understand that people do things or whatever it is, but me, a little bit of an ego here, I will admit it. I was like, you are wasting my time. And so I just left. And he called me. He's like, where'd you go? I said, you made me wait for 5 minutes. I don't know where you went. Like, I don't have time for you to, have someone else come and tell me, another incompetent person tell me about this car. I'm done. And he got mad at me and hung up on me. I'm like, cool. I'm never going to buy from you ever again. And then I get a stupid automated text message from him today saying, hey, thanks for stopping by our dealership. I'd love to help you. I'm like, stop. You guys, like, it is not difficult to shine. The bar is so dang low. It is so incompetently low in our industry. I hope that you guys could agree with me. So to be able to level yourself up does not take much, right? A buyer is going to naturally expect you to be honest. They're going to naturally expect you to be knowledgeable. They're going to expect you to be able to know how to negotiate. Are they going to expect you to find them a home? They don't think so. They think they have all the information they need online. Is that true? Not necessarily, right? Do they know pocket inventory? They don't. Do they know inventory that's not there? No. Do they know that we'll go and like literally knock on every single floor plan of a home that they like in their neighborhood and find them a home that they want to sell? Or find a seller that wants to sell a home to them? Absolutely. How do we share that with them? It's the way we communicate, right? Do we have a buyer packet that's going to show them exactly what we're going to do? A lot of times these buyers don't understand the expenses in buying a property. They may think that the only thing they need is just the down payment. And that could be far from the truth, right? And because now the responsibility of the expense or fee or commission that we charge as an agent now rests on their shoulders, then that's another expense that they didn't know that they have to incur, that they incur now. And us, and if we don't know how to properly negotiate with them and become a better negotiator than them, then we're going to lose. Do you guys understand? So knowing how to be able to set yourself apart by knowing the inventory, knowing the market, knowing the lifestyle, like Ryan was saying, by knowing the shops and the place to go golf, the places to play pickleball, the place to do whatever, right? Knowing all that stuff is going to be a way the ins and outs of the actual product that you're selling, the house, showing the home in a way. We've talked about this in the past of how to show a property, or if you guys remember, because even just the simplicity of opening a door and letting them in, you can shine. Tessa, I don't know if she's here in this group. What she does, even before she meets them, she asks them what they like to drink, and she makes sure she brings their favorite drink to the appointment for the very first time. Another agent that's on our team, I know that she brings a sunflower and gives them a sunflower when she meets them for the first time. Like, you can do small little things to be able to separate yourself from the competition. You could also do this by the knowledge that you have, which is more important. We're going to jump back in here right now and discuss some more things. Negotiating is another one. So you could have this guy, we've talked about in the past of just hiring an attorney to write the offer for you. You find the home, they're able to do it. Or you could have someone like him, right? How important do you guys feel negotiations is in our industry? What do you guys think? How important is it?
I would say very important.
Yeah, I guess I asked a really stupid question, didn't I? Of course it's important, but tell me why. Why is it very important?
You would want to know. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, sorry to interrupt.
I was gonna say because you want to know exactly what you're talking about and not look like someone that's doesn't know what they're doing within the heat of the moment. Because some like people are high D or depends, and you really want to know what you're doing and looking at both sides or all sides.
Not what you say, it's how you say it.
Sure. Yes, that's true. What else?
And to add to that, I was going to say it's basically to help your clients. I mean, especially now on the buy side, you want to be able to get some money back into your clients' pockets and be able to help, either pay for your own commission or just help them since they're the ones that are going to be paying the upfront costs.
Right. What is the average cost for a buyer outside of their down payment that they're going to need to pay? What do you guys think?
2.5 to 3.
2.5.
Are we talking about, I'm not talking about just commission, I'm talking about the whole escrow title, attorney fees, home inspection, appraisal.
I'm saying like 13,000 maybe.
I think closing costs in our area run about 2.5 to 3% of the sales price.
2.5 to 3%, not including your commission, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so that means that they're going to have to come up with an additional 5% or 5.5% up and above their down payment that they didn't know that they had to. If you're talking about the first time home buyer, they might not know that they barely saved enough money for 5% or 3.5% or 10% or whatever it is. And now you're going to tell them, you're going to burst their bubble and say, oh no, there's an additional 5% in fees. That might shock them a little bit. And how you explain that is critical. And we don't have time to really dissect that deeper, but I encourage you to do that. I encourage you to be able to know how to present to a buyer all of their fees and break that down in simple ways to be able to help them understand what the lender fees are and the differences and nuances of that, what your fees are and what they get for that, the escrow and title if you're in an escrow title state, or attorney fees if you're in an attorney state. You got to know all of those things, and you got to help them understand that all of that is their closing expenses. And then they've got their down payment. And so, and then you're going to share with them how you're going to get as much money as you possibly can from the seller to offset those expenses. Because you guys, if you separate your commission with their additional expenses, you're setting yourself up for a really difficult situation, because then they're going to try to negotiate your commission, which is probably the most lump sum expense they're going to have. But if you put it all together, right? If you say my fee is 3% and there's an additional 2.5 or 3% in additional expenses, then you say there's a total of 6% that we need to get from the seller. Or do you have it? Right? Do you have your down payment plus this additional 5.5 or 6%? And then if you say you're going to get some money from the seller, don't break it down by saying, I'm going to have them pay my fee, or I'm going to have the seller cover my costs, so don't worry. Because the buyer has more than just your cost to worry about, don't they? They have your cost and those additional extra expenses that they have to incur. So you as a negotiator may say, hey, I'm going to do as much as I possibly can to negotiate and get as much money from the sellers as we possibly can to be able to offset those expenses that you have. And then here it is in a very clear fashion of what those expenses could look like. Let's see if I have it here. This is from our own team. Again, I'm not a huge fan of this, but I'll show it to you anyway. So you can share with them what the difference between prepaid costs are versus closing costs that are fixed. You can share them what the title fees are, the lender fees are, additional fees that they might incur, the total expenses, right? So what they have to come up with up and above their down payment, and just have that simply broken down for them so they know exactly what it's going to be, right? Just even if it's an example, it's not specific to them, breaking this down for them, it's going to allow them to be able to understand. And if they have questions, then you're going to need to know how to answer that. Right. And if you guys want to copy that, let me know, and I can give you a copy of a whole booklet that we have. It is so critical, you guys, that we spend the time and energy right now. We should have done it already, but if you haven't already done it, that you spend the time and energy getting yourself ready and educating yourself. I want you to go from, imagine if you got your license and that's virtually graduating high school. I mean, it's even less than that, right? I mean, you know, a couple of days ago, yesterday, whenever it was, I was talking with my team about how many hours of school or how many hours of classes you need to do to get your real estate license. And I know each state's different. Let's see, Ohio, what do we have from Ohio? How many hours is it there? Do you know, to get your real estate license? Do we have Ohioans here? Did they already leave? They may have left already. Alabama, what is it, Ann?
It's 60.
60 hours? Oh my gosh.
It's so low. I know.
Yep. Joan, what is it there in Idaho?
Oh, gosh, I don't even know. I think it's like 4 days a week for 2 weeks, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Florida, what is it, Jess? Do you know? For an agent?
I know in Texas, it's 180 hours.
180 for Texas.
Better, we're 63.
63. Holy crap. Okay. In California, it's 120. Utah, it's 120. You guys, to get your cosmetology license in California is 1,200 hours. I don't know what it is in other states, but like the government wants to make sure that your hair is going to be taken care of by making sure that those people spend 1,200 hours in practice before they even get to touch your hair. But to sell your biggest asset, 60 hours, 120 hours. It is so low, so low. And so imagine that being like a high school degree. I am inviting every single one that's in this group and everyone that can hear my voice to get yourself a bachelor's, ideally a master's. You could be a rock star and get a PhD in real estate. I invite you to continue educating yourself. Because if you don't, what's going to happen is you're not going to have the confidence needed in your ability to be able to deliver value to a buyer. Most of us that started in this industry, we started as a buyer's agent because a lead would come in, they would have no clue who they're dealing with. Most of the time, agents or buyers would just use the first agent that they met, and they were just stuck. Just like how you go to a car dealership and some schmuck comes out and you kind of have to deal with the person that doesn't know anything about the car. You have to just deal with them. And it worked that way. But it's changing. It's going to change. It's going to happen now. And so if you don't prepare yourself, then you're going to be out of a job. If you cannot share your value and make it in such a way that not only can you share it verbally by saying the right words, like David said, but you got to know how to deliver that message. Your tone, your conviction, your confidence has to be so strong that they don't look anywhere else. If you get objections from people, there's a difference between objections people. That means you didn't do your job to properly help them understand what your value is. Because if you do, or if you did, they would not have any objections in signing the agreement that you have. This goes for buyer representation or seller representation. It's the same. So how do we do that? How do we level ourselves? How do we get our bachelor's degree in real estate? And don't say get your broker's license, because that's not the answer. That's just more stuff that you don't ever actually utilize in practice. What else can we do? What
Well,
should
I was going to say to attend like the different things that like maybe your organization offers, like Tagar has all these different activities and learning experiences. The CRMLS has things that you can sign up for. Going to or watching, listening, participating in classes like this, where you're learning things, doing role plays, all kinds of things. There's a lot of opportunities.
That's right. All of those things that you just mentioned, right? Role playing every single day, coming to education masterminds like this, learning from your team or the broker that you're with, or learn from other professionals that have a lot more experience than you, educating yourself on local politics that are specific to the city or areas that you work in, so you know what's happening there, knowing who the builders are, knowing who the developments are, knowing what shops and restaurants and whatever else is coming into town, like knowing and becoming the mayor, if you will. Yeah, I love what you said, YouTube University, like study that stuff, learn it, educate yourself, spend a half hour, an hour each day learning how to digest that information and then know how to regurgitate that back out. Prepare yourself by going or previewing properties every single day. If you guys don't have appointments to show homes, then you should go be previewing properties. And when you're previewing properties, when you're there, you should be looking at that home, looking at the layout and the floor plan and knowing what door opens what. And then you should also be doing a video of that home and posting it on social media so people know that you're working and what you're doing, right? Knocking two birds with one stone. Every single person in this class that's participating right now, it is your responsibility and your responsibility alone to level yourself up. I'm confident that in the next 4 or 5 months, you're going to see a lot of agents that are going to have a really hard time adjusting to this change. They're going to have a really hard time because you're going to be competing with other buyers agents and you're not going to be able to show your value. You're going to say the same exact thing as everybody else is. You're going to say that, you've got nothing better to do and you're going to dedicate all of your time and energy into that one buyer. And that's going to scare the crap out of them. Or you're going to say a whole bunch of stuff. You're going to vomit information to them that they don't care about because you're not going to be asking enough questions to be able to truly learn who they are, learn what's important to them. If you talk about these amazing, beautiful schools that you have and their ratings and they have no kids, they don't want kids, that information that you have is completely useless. If you don't know how far of a drive it is to go from the metropolitan area to your area, or vice versa, or travel times, or how long they have to walk to get to the train station or the bus station or whatever's pertinent to the area in which you work. If you don't have that stuff down pat, you're going to miss out. If you're in a second home market, you're in a luxury market and you don't know those stats, you don't know what the conversion rate is, you don't know what the ROI is, you don't know what the vacancy rate is, if you don't know how many homes are on the market and what the absorption rate is, like if you don't have that information in your head, guess what? And I don't tell you guys these things to be able to scare you. I tell you to be able to like think in your head, what can I do today to increase my knowledge a little bit more? The last thing I want to share with you, and I know that we're a little over time, is I want you guys to learn to be good storytellers. I want you to get good at learning how to storytell. The reason is because from birth until the day we die, the way in which we as human beings share knowledge typically is by stories, right? From very small age, we read child's books that do or not do, right? The Three Little Piggies tell us to be able to work hard and build our homes with stones, right? Or brick that's gonna withstand the big bad wolf. I said wolf. Jeez. And all these stories tell us, right? If you were in a Christian home, you read the Bible and you learned stories about things that, the good and bad. And those stories were shared, or the experiences, the knowledge, the point was shared in story. And so when you make facts or you share facts with people, when you tell them about how good you are as an agent or how amazing you are at negotiating, you can tell them that. You can say, I'm an amazing negotiator. Awesome. Negotiate a deal for your clients. That's going to be able to, people will accept your story at face value, including the facts that you shared. But if you rattle off some facts, they might question those facts. But if you share it in a story, you're able to articulate your value, you're able to articulate what you're trying to share with them, tell them in an easier way, because they'll be able to accept it, because it's just how we are as human beings. So I encourage you guys to learn how to do that. Learn how to tell your story, learn how to share your facts with them, right? I mean, you can say, this neighborhood here, has these 4 or 5 builders, and this one's great. That doesn't come off as strong as, let me tell you about the story about this person that bought this house in this community, and they ended up they bought the wrong builder, or they bought a home with the wrong builder, or was built by the wrong builder, and these are the expenses that they had. Right? Like, sharing stories is an easy way for you to be able to articulate and share your value and the things you're going to share with them so that they can receive it on the other side. I think I've driven that point home. Okay. Any other questions, thoughts? Okay. I hope that these things that we've talked about today can help better you, or help you along your way of knowing how to better articulate your value to a buyer so that they will sign a buyer broker agreement. Do not be afraid of asking for the business. When you go and you have them do it, like, don't be like, okay, well, all right, well, are you okay with signing this? Will you hire me? Right? Be confident. Be confident in who you are. Be confident in who you work for. Show up in a way that's going to be able to let them know that you are the best option. And if you don't believe that you're the best option right now, then you got some work to do, right? Lean on someone that is the best option and use their skills, or use them to be able to help you share that value. Thank you, Jess. Yeah, the stories don't even have to even be anything to do with real estate, right? You can drive a point home in talking about, someone getting their hair and getting a botched boob job, or like all the different other ways that you can, you can share a story to be able to, to be about real estate that can still drive the point home. Yep, absolutely, Ryan. Okay, so for those that wanted a copy of what I had, send me an email. My email is nazar@fivrealty.com, and I'll get you a copy of that digitally. and then you can use whatever you want, and the things that you don't care about or don't want, you can just delete them. Again, I would encourage you to get this printed out, and I encourage you guys to get a box. It doesn't have to be an actual box. It could be a metaphor, it could be like a nice folder, binder, and I'll get those types of pictures I showed you in the very beginning and print those out to be able to show the comparison, the contrast between a good job versus not a good job, and how you're going to be able to show them that you got this, that you are going to be the person that's going to be the professional. Yes, Jessica.
You can also make it into a digital flip book as well, and send it to them, because like for us, we don't always meet our clients in person, so that they can have that as well. Or you could put it in a high note presentation, but all that same information.
Absolutely true. Yeah, that's unfortunate you guys can't meet, but those that can, having an example to them is a lot stronger and better than it is if you are just showing it on a digital screen. Same thing goes with like professional photography, right? Like you can say, obviously, everyone's going to do it, but there's still people in 2024 that bust out their iPhones and take pictures of listings. I mean, I don't know why that's a thing, but it is. And so if in your marketplace, it's a big thing where there's a big disparity amongst those that use professional photography versus not, then I would drive that point home by actually printing out pictures from the MLS that show that these pictures are taken by agents that work in our neighborhood, and this is how they show their property. Or views of homes, or videos of property. Like that would be something that you can show them. You can say, hey, we did this video got these many views, and this resulted in these many offers that caused us to be able to sell the home for this fast and for this much money, right? Like showing value by giving them information and showing them, show and tell, by story, by actual product, or something they can see tangibly, can feel tangibly, makes a huge difference. All right, guys, have an amazing Thursday and amazing rest of the week. Thanks for being a part of this week's masterclass as we discussed how to win buyer broker agreements from other buyers. Okay, you guys have an amazing day. Take care.